Memphis. Earlier, we talked with the Illinois Association of Chiefs of Police Executive Director Kenny Winslow, who is the former Springfield police chief, to get his reaction to the video out of Memphis showing police brutally beating an individual. And to get more reaction to that, we'll talk now with the current Springfield police chief, Ken Scarlette. Chief, thanks for taking time with us here on WMAY. Let's go ahead and get your initial reaction to what you saw play out in Memphis.
Yeah, Greg, thanks for having me on the show. I appreciate the opportunity. And clearly those were, tragic incident that we all witnessed. Personally find it disgusting. I'm embarrassed that those individuals were allowed to wear the badge, and they've certainly tarnished the image of law enforcement. And clearly we don't have all the facts and circumstances yet, but it's definitely obvious from the videos that the officer's use of force was excessive. We work hard in the law enforcement business and industry to earn the trust and confidence of those that we serve. And it's incidents like this from, just 5 rogue police officers that make the 800,000 other of us law enforcement officers be put in a bad light.
So talk a bit about the use of body cameras in this case and how they are used in Springfield. Springfield's had them for a long time, and do they work to combat this type of thing? Because these officers were wearing body cameras. It didn't seem to necessarily keep them from behaving the way they did, but after the fact, it gave us the opportunity to see their behavior. How are body cameras being implemented in Springfield?
Well, to me, Greg, that's one of the most egregious facts of this whole case is that the officers, A, knew that they were being recorded, and B, knew what they were doing and knew it was illegal. And that's what makes this part so disgusting. I think from a body-worn camera perspective, yes, Springfield Police Department was on the forefront of implementing body cams, and we've had them now for several years. I think they play a crucial role in, not only protecting the citizens of the community, but also protecting our officers against false complaints, quite frankly, for that matter. That's what we've seen. They are an effective tool. What we'll now use going forward in this case is we'll use the body cam footage from the Memphis incident as a training opportunity for our officers.
Ken Scarlette with us. He is the police chief for the city of Springfield and talking about getting reaction of law enforcement to what happened down in Memphis. Now, another element here, Chief, is the individuals down in Memphis were part of some kind of street crimes unit that has now been disbanded. Talk about Springfield Street Crimes Unit. I know that, there's certain things you can't divulge as far as investigative techniques and tactics and whatnot, but with a street crimes unit, explain what it is. And what kind of supervision is there over these specialized units?
Yeah, that's a good question, Greg. And the Street Crimes Unit has been around for several years in Springfield. I was assigned to it. It was under a different name at the time, but back in 2002, so it's been around at least that long. As it stands now, our current team is comprised of a supervisor, a sergeant, and 3 officers. So there is direct supervision with this team. Their primary role is to investigate gang and gun violence within our community and, to do their best to quell feuds from happening and hold people responsible who are carrying illegal guns with the intention of using them to harm someone. I think it's evident, if we look at our stats from 2022, Springfield Police Department took in a record number of illegal firearms, well over 500. These 4 individuals of the Street Crimes Unit were responsible for bringing in 178 of those. These officers are also responsible for following up on shot spotter notifications that we get to ensure that there's complete and thorough follow-up. But beyond the enforcement component, they also play a special role in educating our youth on what gang violence looks like and why it's important to make proper life decisions and stay away from the gangs in Springfield. And they've done this. I can think of a few times with the Junior Frontiers, the NAACP board, St. John's AME presentation, and many others. So they have an important role here within our city.
And then when it comes to the oversight of these special street crimes units, of course, we've all seen the movies like Training Day with Denzel Washington. Boy, that's a throwback. But how do we ensure that these individuals, not making any assertions that they are in Springfield, but just seeing what happened down in Memphis, how do we ensure that these units don't go rogue, don't become, as Police Chief Kenny Winslow said, don't get cavalier about the responsibility they have, the higher standard that they are supposed to be upheld to? How do we make sure that there's proper oversight?
Yeah, and that's very important as far as I'm concerned. And I heard you talking about it yesterday on the air. It wasn't Training Day. It was another movie out there. And
it was Breaking Bad with a DEA agent that let his emotions get over his skis, and he eventually came to the realization that it wasn't muscle memory kicking in; it was his inability to control his emotions.
And where I was going with that is I think, Hollywood does I guess a good job, if you would say that, of painting law enforcement in a negative light in these certain circumstances, and doesn't really give the reality of what policing is. And so I think, but to your point regarding oversight, it's extremely important. And, these officers are held accountable. Those in the street crimes I'm talking about are held accountable to the exact same standards that every other officer on the Springfield Police Department is. In fact, as I mentioned, we have a supervisor that directly oversees that team. I have a watch lieutenant that's in charge of them each and every night, as well as a watch lieutenant in the division. Our street crimes officers wear body cameras, and they're subjected to random body-worn camera reviews, just like the rest of our officers. We have a policy in place for every officer on this department that the supervisors review body-worn camera for any case that involves anything over normal handcuffing. So we have a lot of this oversight, in my opinion, already in place for all members of our department, and that would include our street crimes members. That doesn't mean that, we can't, like I mentioned earlier, we can't learn and train from what happened in Memphis and try and do better as a profession.
Ken Scarlette is the police chief for the city of Springfield. Not related to what happened in Memphis, but related to the city of Springfield. We've got the budget season underway. Talk about the police budget. Are we going to see an increase from the current year or in the upcoming budget for the Springfield Police Department?
Man, sounds like you're asking me to give you a few spoilers here.
Listen, I can't listen to all the budget hearings with everything else I got going on, so I need to get the top level kind of analysis from those top of the departments. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, let me share one thing that I'm extremely proud of this year. We actually, from last year's budget to this year's budget, we're seeing a decrease in our overall funding source. So we're actually down about 0.5% from where we were last year. That doesn't mean that the citizens won't have the services they need. In fact, we're going to ask to increase our headcount by 1, and that's specifically for a training officer. My budget new initiatives really focuses around 2 main components. That's training for our men and women, and that's traffic enforcement, because those seem to be the 2 biggest things that are important in law enforcement, making sure our men and women are trained, but also I hear from the citizens that traffic is a big concern. So that's really what my new initiatives are centered around. We have a lot of training components, both looking at a long-term feasibility study for our training academy to make it just a regional training hub so that others, aspire to come to Springfield and train here.
Ken Scarlette, greatly appreciate your time. We'll definitely be talking about these and other issues in the future, and we'll be listening out for the budget negotiations and how those go. So appreciate it. Be safe out there, all right?
Thanks, Greg. Real quick plug. We are currently in the application process. So if any of your listeners know someone who wants to do this job, we'd love to have them apply. springfield.il.us/police testing.
And give that website one more time so that people can really make sure they jot that down and either go there themselves or let their friends and family know.
You bet. www.springfield.il.us/police testing. In my opinion, this will be the best list to be on as far as the number of folks that we're going to hire. We're looking at hiring close to 40 individuals over the next fiscal year. So I would encourage those that have the courage and the motivation to join our team to apply.
And is there a deadline you can let us know? Can we have you back on
You
in the weeks ahead to kind of highlight some of the qualifications and whatnot?
You bet. I'd love to be back on. And there is a deadline. The deadline to apply is February 12th at 11 p.m. Central Time, and the test is being offered on 3 different occasions, February 18th, 20th, and 24th.
All right, well, let's definitely plan on connecting to get that back out in front. Greatly appreciate your time this morning. Ken Scarlette, Police Chief for Springfield. Be safe.
Thanks, Greg. Good to talk to you.
Absolutely. Is now 7:52 from Culver's west on Wabash.
It's time to apply.